Hey there, amazing English learners. Welcome back to our cozy little space where we get to practice speaking English together. I'm so happy you've chosen to spend some time with me today, and I'm ready for a really long, natural chat. Today isn't about rigid grammar rules or memorizing lists. It's about making English feel alive, comfortable, and truly yours by just talking about life. You know, one of the best ways to feel confident in any language is to talk about things that are real to you, things that you experience every single day, or things that you simply enjoy. It makes the words flow so much more easily because you actually care about what you're saying. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. I'll share some of my thoughts and experiences, and I'll invite you to think about yours right along with me. This is your chance to really engage with the language, even if you're just speaking to yourself or quietly forming the sentences in your mind. Let's start with something we all experience, our surroundings, our home environment. I spend a lot of time at home, just like many of you probably do. And I've noticed how my feelings about my home change with the seasons. Right now, as we're moving deeper into summer, I find myself really appreciating the natural light that pours into my living room in the mornings. It just makes the whole space feel so much brighter and more welcoming. I love how the sunlight hits the plants near the window. It makes them look so vibrant. Speaking of plants, I've recently tried to cultivate a bit of a green thumb, which means trying to grow plants. It's been an interesting journey, I'll tell you that. Some of my plants are thriving, doing wonderfully, and they bring so much life into the room. But others, well, they are definitely teaching me patience and humility. I've learned that some plants need a lot more water than others, and some absolutely hate direct sunlight. It's like they each have their own little personalities, you know? What about you? Do you have any plants at home, or do you prefer a more minimalist approach? Do you find yourself talking to your plants, even in your head? I sometimes do, especially when they look a little droopy. I'll say something like, "Come on, little friend, you can do it. Just a little more water." It's silly, but it's a way to practice English in a very low-pressure environment. And think about the sounds of your home. In my home, during the day, when things are calm, I often hear the gentle hum of the refrigerator or sometimes the faint chirping of birds outside my window. If my neighbor is gardening, I might hear the distant sound of a lawnmower. It's never completely silent, but it's a comfortable kind of noise. In the evenings, the sounds change. Maybe it's the quiet background noise of a show I'm watching, or the clinking of dishes if I'm doing chores in the kitchen. Sometimes it's just the sound of pages turning if I'm reading a physical book. What sounds fill your home during different parts of the day? Try to describe them in English, even if it's just one or two words. Is it the lively chatter of family, the distant city hum, or maybe the peaceful quiet? Thinking about sounds actually reminds me of music, which is a huge part of my life. I genuinely believe music is a universal language, but the way we talk about it is often unique to our own culture, and translating those feelings in English can be a fun challenge. I listen to a really wide variety of music, honestly. One day, I might be totally immersed in some classical music, something very calm and intricate. The next day, I could be listening to upbeat pop songs that just make you want to dance, even if it's just in your chair. I also have a soft spot for instrumental music, especially when I'm trying to focus or write something. There are no lyrics to distract me, and the melodies just help me concentrate. Do you have a go-to music genre? Or do you, like me, enjoy different kinds of music depending on your mood? What kind of music helps you focus or relax or get energized? Think about a specific song you love right now and try to describe why you like it using just a few English adjectives. Is it catchy, emotional, rhythmic? Sometimes, when I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, I find that listening to instrumental film scores really helps me to calm down and even visualize stories in my mind. It's interesting how music can transport you to different places or evoke different emotions, isn't it? It's not just about the notes, it's about the feeling. And trying to describe those feelings in English is a fantastic way to stretch your vocabulary beyond just basic nouns and verbs. You can talk about music being soothing, invigorating, melancholy, uplifting, or powerful. Moving from sounds to sights, let's talk about colors. Colors are everywhere, obviously, but we often don't consciously think about how we describe them or how they make us feel. I find that certain colors just instantly lift my mood. For example, I'm really drawn to shades of blue, like a sky blue or a deep ocean blue. They make me feel calm and peaceful. Yellow, on the other hand, always seems so cheerful and energized. I don't wear a lot of yellow clothes myself, but I love seeing it in flowers or bright decorations. And then there are colors like gray or beige, which I appreciate for their neutrality. They're very calming and make a nice background, but they don't excite me in the same way. What are your favorite colors? Do certain colors make you feel happy, calm, or energized? Try to name 3 colors you love and explain why using English adjectives. You might say, I love green because it's refreshing, or red makes me feel passionate. And thinking about colors, it's amazing how they connect to different experiences. Like the vibrant greens of spring after a long winter, or the deep oranges and reds of autumn leaves. These are things we see all the time, and being able to express that beauty in English really adds to your descriptive power. Instead of just, it's pretty, you can say, the autumn leaves are a magnificent display of crimson and gold, which sounds a bit more sophisticated, doesn't it? Even if you start with it's pretty, that's a perfectly good start. The point is to just say something. Let's shift gears a little and talk about preferences for learning. Since you're here listening to an English podcast, it's clear you're interested in learning. What's your preferred way to learn? I've discovered that I learn best when I can combine listening with a little bit of doing. That's why I like this podcast format, where I talk and you can listen, and then hopefully you're also repeating some phrases or thinking of your own answers. I also really enjoy learning visually, so watching documentaries or educational videos is another favorite method for me. I find that seeing the information presented visually along with someone speaking English helps my brain connect the dots faster. I don't tend to learn very well from just reading long, dense textbooks without any audio or visual components. My brain just starts to wander. What about you? Are you a visual learner, an auditory learner, or do you learn best by physically doing things, maybe by writing things down or practicing conversations with others? Think about the learning methods that you genuinely enjoy, because that's often the most effective way to stick with something. For me, consistency is also super important in learning. I try to engage with English every single day, even if it's just for 10 minutes. It could be listening to a short podcast episode, reading an article online, or even just thinking in English about my day, like we discussed in a previous episode. I find that these small, consistent efforts add up to big progress over time, much more than trying to do a huge, intense study session once a week. It's like watering a plant a little bit every day versus drowning it once a month. The daily little bit works so much better. Do you find that consistency helps you too? Or do you prefer longer, less frequent study sessions? There's no right or wrong answer. It's just about finding what works best for your own learning style. And when it comes to technology, which is something we all interact with daily, I have my own preferences too. I use my phone a lot for learning, for communication, and for entertainment. I find it incredibly convenient to have so much information and so many tools right at my fingertips. I use a lot of different apps, from messaging apps to language learning apps, and even apps for tracking my fitness. I probably spend more time on my phone than I should, but it's just become such an integrated part of my life. However, I also make sure to carve out time away from screens, especially in the evenings, because I feel like too much screen time can make it harder to relax and fall asleep. Do you rely heavily on technology for learning or for daily life? What are your favorite apps or gadgets that you use every day? And do you ever try to consciously limit your screen time? This is a great topic to practice describing your habits using phrases like, I use my phone for, I can't live without, or I try to limit. Another thing that brings a lot of joy to my daily life is connecting with people, whether it's friends, family, or even just a quick friendly chat with someone at the coffee shop. I genuinely enjoy meeting new people and learning about their experiences. I think everyone has an interesting story to tell, and it's fascinating to hear different perspectives on life. I especially appreciate honest and open conversations where people feel comfortable sharing their true thoughts and feelings. I don't really enjoy small talk about the weather for too long, but I understand it's a necessary part of starting a conversation sometimes. I prefer to quickly move past the surface level topics and get to know the real person. What about you? Do you enjoy meeting new people, or are you more introverted? Do you prefer deep conversations over casual chats? Think about a recent conversation you had, even a short one, and try to recall a few English phrases that were used. And speaking of conversations, what kind of topics do you enjoy discussing the most? For me, I love talking about books, movies, and ideas. I could talk for hours about a good book I've just finished or a thought-provoking documentary I watched. I also enjoy discussions about personal growth and new ways of thinking. I find it really stimulating to hear how other people approach challenges or look at the world. I don't particularly enjoy conversations that are focused purely on celebrity gossip or very negative news because I feel like those topics don't really add much value to my day. What about you? Are there certain topics that you find yourself naturally drawn to when you're talking with others, even in your native language? Try to list a few topics in English that you would love to discuss with a native speaker if you had the chance. For instance, I love talking about travel, or I enjoy discussing current events. Thinking about conversation brings up the idea of storytelling. We all tell stories every day, whether it's about what happened at work, a funny incident with a friend, or something we saw on the news. I love listening to stories, and I also enjoy telling them. I think a good story can really connect people.
I try to make my stories interesting by including details and maybe a little bit of humor. I sometimes find myself rehearsing how I'm going to tell a story in English in my head, especially if it's something I want to share with an English-speaking friend. It helps me to organize my thoughts and find the right words. Do you enjoy telling stories? What kind of stories do you like to tell or to hear? Think about a funny or interesting thing that happened to you recently and try to summarize it in 3 simple English sentences. For example, yesterday I saw a cat chase a squirrel. The squirrel was very fast. The cat looked surprised. And then there's the topic of travel, which is something many people dream about, myself included. I have a passion for exploring new places, experiencing different cultures, and trying new foods. My ideal trip usually involves a mix of historical sites, local markets, and beautiful natural landscapes. I love walking around new cities and just observing the daily life. One thing I always try to do when I travel is to learn a few basic phrases in the local language, even if it's just hello, thank you, and excuse me. It shows respect and it opens up a little door for connection. But of course, when I'm in an English-speaking country, that's when I feel completely in my element, just soaking up all the conversations around me. What about you? Do you enjoy traveling? What's your dream travel destination and why? What kind of experiences do you look for when you travel? You can use phrases like, I dream of visiting, I love to explore, or my ideal trip includes. And when you think about travel, you also think about different kinds of transportation. I usually prefer public transportation when I'm in a big city, like subways or buses. It's often more convenient and environmentally friendly, and it gives you a real feel for the city's pulse. Plus, you can do things like read or listen to podcasts while you're commuting, which is a great way to maximize your time. However, for longer distances or when I'm traveling with a lot of luggage, I definitely prefer to take a train or for very long distances, an airplane. I don't really enjoy long car rides unless I'm the one driving and I have a great playlist. What about you? What's your preferred mode of transportation for daily commuting and for long journeys? Do you enjoy driving or do you prefer to be a passenger? Thinking about journeys also makes me consider plans for the future, even small ones for the upcoming week. For instance, this week I'm planning to try a new recipe that I saw online. It's a vegetarian dish and it looks quite challenging, but I'm excited to give it a try. I also plan to finish reading a book that I started last month. It's been sitting on my nightstand and I really want to know how it ends. And, of course, I plan to continue these English speaking practice sessions with you all. What are your plans for the next few days or the upcoming week? Do you have anything exciting planned, or are you just looking forward to a bit of quiet time? Talking about future plans is an excellent way to practice using future tenses in English, like I'm going to, I plan to, or I hope to.
And speaking of challenges, learning a new language definitely comes with its own set of them, doesn't it? Sometimes I find it challenging to learn new vocabulary, especially words that are very specific to a particular field. It's like no matter how many times I see the word, it just doesn't stick in my memory. Other times, the challenge is simply finding enough time to dedicate to learning. Life gets busy, and it's easy to let practice slide. But I always remind myself that even small amounts of consistent practice are better than nothing. And the biggest challenge for many, including me sometimes, is overcoming that fear of making mistakes. It's a natural fear, but it's the one that holds us back the most. What are some of the challenges you face when learning English, and how do you try to overcome them? But for every challenge, there's also a reward, right?
The most rewarding part of learning a new language, for me, is when I have a successful conversation or when I understand a joke or a nuanced expression. That feeling of connection or that moment of complete comprehension is incredibly satisfying. It makes all the effort worthwhile. It's like a little victory every time. What do you find most rewarding about your English learning journey? Is it understanding your favorite song lyrics, watching a movie without subtitles, or maybe having a chat with an English speaker? Celebrate those small victories because they are truly important milestones. And thinking about rewards and celebrations, it makes me think about what brings true happiness in daily life. For me, it's often the small things. It's the first cup of coffee in the morning, listening to my favorite podcast, a sunny day after a week of rain, or a phone call with a good friend. It's also the feeling of accomplishing something, even if it's just ticking off a task on my to-do list. I find happiness in learning new things, whether it's a new recipe or a new English phrase. What about you? What are the small things in your daily life that bring you joy or make you smile? Try to list 3 small things that make you happy using simple English phrases. For example, I love a quiet morning, or good food makes me happy. And beyond those small joys, what about aspirations, the bigger things we hope for? I aspire to continuously learn and grow, not just in language, but in all areas of my life. I hope to always be curious and open to new ideas. I also hope to contribute positively to the world around me, even in small ways. And of course, I aspire to become an even better English speaker and communicator, always refining my skills. It's a lifelong journey, and that's what makes it exciting. What are some of your aspirations, big or small, related to English or just life in general? You can use phrases like, I hope to, I aspire to become, or my goal is to. It's been wonderful just sharing these thoughts with you today. Remember, the key to speaking English fluently and confidently is to integrate it into your daily life, to make it a natural extension of who you are and what you experience. Don't be afraid to use simple sentences to describe your world, your feelings, your thoughts. Every single word you speak, every sentence you form, no matter how short, is a step forward. You're building that confidence with every sound you make. Keep listening, keep thinking, and keep speaking. You're doing great.
Now, let's think about food and cooking, which is something many of us engage with every single day. I absolutely love trying new recipes, especially ones from different cultures. There's something so satisfying about gathering all the ingredients, following the steps, and then tasting the result. I wouldn't say I'm a professional chef by any means, but I enjoy the process. My favorite thing to cook is probably a hearty pasta dish because it's comforting and I can always add lots of vegetables. On the other hand, I don't really enjoy baking. It feels too precise. Like you have to follow every single measurement perfectly, and I prefer a bit more flexibility in the kitchen. What about you? Do you enjoy cooking or baking? What's your go-to meal to prepare, or do you prefer eating out? Think about the ingredients you use or the taste of your favorite dish and try to describe them in English. You can say something like, I love cooking stir fries because they are quick and healthy. Or, I prefer eating out because I don't like doing dishes. And thinking about food also makes me consider restaurants and dining experiences. I love the atmosphere of a good restaurant, especially when you're with friends or family. There's a certain buzz, a feeling of shared enjoyment. I tend to prefer smaller, cozier restaurants over very large and noisy ones. I also really appreciate good service. When the staff are friendly and attentive, it makes a huge difference to the experience. When I go to a new restaurant, I always like to try something new from the menu, something I wouldn't normally cook at home. I don't particularly enjoy waiting in long lines for a table, so I always try to make a reservation if I can. What kind of restaurants do you enjoy? What's your favorite cuisine? And what makes a dining experience truly special for you? You can practice phrases like, I prefer Italian restaurants, or I love trying local dishes. Let's switch gears slightly and talk about weather. It's something we talk about almost every day, right? It's a classic small talk topic, but it's also genuinely important for how we plan our day. I really enjoy sunny weather, especially when there's a gentle breeze. It just makes everything feel brighter and more cheerful. I love being able to go outside without needing a heavy coat or an umbrella. However, I don't particularly enjoy extremely hot and humid weather. That can feel quite draining. And while I appreciate the rain for making everything green, I don't like it when it rains for days and days without stopping. What kind of weather do you prefer? Does the weather affect your mood? How do you prepare for different types of weather in your daily life? You can describe weather using words like sunny, cloudy, windy, rainy, humid, or chilly. And thinking about weather often leads to talking about seasons. My favorite season is definitely autumn. I just love the crisp air, the beautiful colors of the leaves, and the feeling of coziness that comes with it. It's also the season for warm drinks and comfortable sweaters, which I really enjoy. I also like spring because it's a time of new beginnings and everything starts to bloom after winter. I'm not a huge fan of very hot summers or very cold winters, though I appreciate them for what they are. What's your favorite season and why? What do you like to do during that season? This is a great chance to use descriptive words related to nature and activities. Finally, let's talk about learning itself, beyond just English. What are some other things you enjoy learning about? I'm always curious about history, especially ancient civilizations. I find it fascinating to imagine what life was like thousands of years ago and how people built such incredible structures or developed complex societies without modern technology. I also enjoy learning practical skills, like how to fix something around the house or how to use a new software program. I believe continuous learning keeps our minds sharp and our lives interesting. What subjects or skills are you curious about? What's something new you've learned recently and how did you learn it? It's been such a joy sharing these everyday moments and ideas with you. Remember, every time you think about these things in English, every time you quietly form a sentence in your mind or bravely speak a phrase out loud, you are building your fluency. English isn't just about textbooks. It's about connecting with the world around you and expressing your unique self. Keep practicing these conversations with yourself, with friends, or with me right here. Consistency truly is your superpower. All right, everyone. That's it for our English speaking practice session today. I really hope you enjoyed our chat and that you feel a little more confident about talking about your own life in English. Remember, the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. They're just steps on your path to fluency. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit that like button, share it with a friend who's also learning English, and definitely subscribe to Learn English with Maria for more fun and effective practice sessions just like this one. You can also leave a comment below and tell me what's one new thing you learned to say in English today, or what's a topic you'd love to chat about next time. I love hearing from you. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and I'll talk to you very soon on Learn English with Maria.